G'day and welcome to Talking Aussie Farming. I'm your host, Jono Weinstock from FarmCap, where we talk all things Australian agriculture and agribusiness. Today, we've got a special guest, Bianca from Our Cow. Super inspiring story. Bianca, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. Excited to be here.
Pleasure to chat. Just a quick background. I've watched your episodes, I've followed your business, and it is super inspiring as a young entrepreneur coming from a non-farming background, from the mines and entering into farming from at a risky time, suffering from bushfires and drought, depressed cattle prices, which are the same challenges that I guess we help have seen and resolved, and then turning that into an opportunity of, I guess, making meat sexy again, and meat subscription in a box. It doesn't sound like rocket science, but I can assure you, as we'll hear, turning that into a really impressive entrepreneurial business. So keen to hear a bit about your background and your story, and how we've gone from troubled times to bad luck into opportunistic times through getting into e-commerce, through COVID and getting to today.
Cool. Let's do it.
Yeah. Do you want to, how does it feel going from working in the mines to being off farm to getting into farming at, one of the trickiest times in history?
Yeah, well, I guess it was a pretty big risk for both of us. We left our mining job. Obviously, we were on very good money, as you are when you're working in the mines, to go from that kind of salary to $0 overnight. And our accountant at the time said, we sort of pitched the idea to our accountant and said what we wanted to do. We want to start this business and sell meat online. And his exact words were, don't start it now, don't start it tomorrow, don't start it ever, don't even think about it.
Right.
So
Hopefully he's been sacked since, I'm guessing.
yeah, we have a different accountant now.
A
But
different count now. Well, yeah,
yeah,
never kill the spirit of an entrepreneur, that's for sure.
yeah, that's exactly right. But yeah, no, it's been a hell of a challenge, a good apprenticeship into business. Like, it was our first time running a business, running one together, and to take the step from, I guess, we were living in like a semi-regional town, but to go to the farm that we're on now is like quite different. And it's always different when, I guess, like Dave grew up on a farm, and he always says it's different watching your parents farm compared to actually doing it yourself. It's like watching someone driving a car versus you driving a car. Like, it's very different when you're in control and it's your money on the line.
No, absolutely. And I guess just keen to understand what inspired you. What I did notice was, in drought, there were forced sellers, and you wanted to make a buck out of your meat. And I guess you saw an opportunity to turn what was a depressed situation into an opportunity. And, you were literally cow by cow, door to door, trying to rustle up some farmers. What was that? No one ever forgets doing the hard yards. How did that feel at the time?
Yeah, we first started out in 2019 after our farm had really bad bushfires and droughts come through. So we'd bought the farm 2017. As a young person, it's quite difficult to buy farms. So, you need like a 40 to 50% deposit before a bank will even look at you.
That's
So we
right.
had saved a lot of money to try and buy the farm to start with. And then you need livestock. So we had livestock on finance, you need machinery, we need things like tractors. So, we were mortgaged up to our eyeballs and only really young. And then we came into the drought and not really knowing any different. We'd bought cattle at the top of the market before the drought, and then we were forced to sell them at a really low price, like things do, like prices do happen when you're in a drought. So, yeah, and I guess me not coming from a farming background, I said to Dave, like, how can we afford to keep doing this? Like, we're working our guts out 12 months of the year, our input costs are going up, but our end market is going down. This doesn't make sense in any logical case of business in the world. No one else that runs a business doesn't know what price they're going to sell their goods for. So I sort of said, like, the meat prices don't fluctuate anywhere near as much as the sale yard prices do. Why don't we have a crack at selling the beef instead of selling like the cut, like the cattle? And yeah, we literally just started with a Facebook page, advertised. We had one little steer on our farm that we wanted to process, so we advertised it on our Facebook page, and yeah, no idea how we are going to cut it up, how we are going to deliver it, how we are going to take people's monies or orders or anything like that. Just sort of winged it along the way.
No, it's impressive. And now, I love your social media. We've turned into making abattoirs interesting and fun, and there's a real story behind the product and the brand. I guess now you're competing with the majors, arguably, but who would have thought that looking at your Instagram and socials is actually really fun and interesting. Turning meat into a box and selling online. Tell me about the venture of e-commerce in itself. What was that like? Going from, I guess, running a farm to now running an e-commerce business, and I guess the challenges and opportunities. Now you can sell nationally, and the market's wide open for you, and you've really carved out a niche.
Yeah, well, I guess like we were very naive at the start. We didn't really know, like I didn't even know what the word e-commerce was back in 2019. I didn't know what we were doing. Like we very, very naive to the whole thing. We didn't have a website to start with. We used to just take orders over Facebook, and then I would send somebody an invoice and hope that they would pay by the time we got to their doorstep. So, it was very backwards. And then as the demand grew for the business, we set up a website. And at that stage, the website was actually just a blog. So it wasn't an e-commerce website. It was just set up as a blog. And because I didn't want to pay the processing fees for PayPal or Stripe in case the business didn't
Yeah.
work out. So we didn't put any credit card features on the site because I was like, well, if this business doesn't work out, I'm not paying bloody PayPal. So we would still just invoice people for the meat that they ordered, but it just continued to grow and scale, and you build out things on the website and become an e-commerce business. And I guess at the time, like there was farmers doing the paddock to plate thing, but probably nothing to the scale that we were about to undertake. And I guess again, being really naive, we didn't know what we were undertaking either. Like people were asking how they can get meat delivered in Sydney or Melbourne, and we were like, well, there's got to be a way. Like we've
Mm.
got to figure out a way to do this. So we spent a long time researching different partners and couriers and options of how to get meat in a box to someone's doorstep in Sydney within a couple of days. Um, but yeah, didn't come easy, but it's yeah, very, very well set up now.
Yeah, well, that's the fun bit about entrepreneurship. I can see that driving you. You just see an opportunity and a challenge, and you just find a way through relentlessly to solve every piece of the puzzle. From a Facebook marketplace to supply chain issues to distribution to e-commerce to online to everything. It is quite remarkable, and I guess blessing in disguise, you could argue, is it's nice to see COVID actually create opportunity, and so e-commerce boom. I guess from disaster 18 to 20, the droughts and challenging time to all of a sudden waking up and your orders have probably gone 5 to 10-fold through panic buying. Like you must have woken up and going, wow, where's this going? And then I guess keen to understand, did it normalize quite quickly? Like we did see a lot of e-commerce businesses kind of zoom up, and then they got a bit overexcited and overextended, and then had to come back to reality, and there was some kind of normal. But what a blessing in disguise, to some extent with COVID booming
Yeah,
the
like
e-commerce.
COVID was interesting. We'd just taken on the lease of a little butcher shop in a small town, and we were worried about employing a butcher 2 days a week because we didn't think we'd have enough work for him. And it ended up being 7 days a week, like 15 hours a day that
Right.
we had this butcher employed for. And, at that stage, there was only sort of four of us in the business: Dave, myself. We had another lady that she actually worked during the day and then she would come and work for us after work. So, yeah, it was mayhem. And I think we've seen our business grow about like 1,600% in a month. It was just
Yeah, crazy.
crazy, crazy growth. And there was a few times where we were contemplating turning our website off and shutting our orders down because people were just going mad. Like, I guess we were probably a little bit sheltered to how chaotic it was in the cities because we were still living in Casino, like we were in a regional town. It was not as bad as what I imagine it would be like in Sydney. Like people could not get food.
No,
So
that's
we
right.
were working, we used to start work at 1 o'clock in the morning until about 10 o'clock at night, just packing meat, getting orders out. And people were panic buying. They were buying tens of thousands of dollars worth of meat at once because they thought
Amazing.
that,
How
they
did you handle the supply challenges at the time? Could you get your hand on animals and abattoirs and logistics at the time? Because
Yeah.
I guess agriculture was the one sector that had a few looser reins during COVID, whereas we're in Melbourne here, we were locked down.
Yeah, well, we were able to bring on other farmers quite quickly. So we pitched the idea to a lot of other farmers and told them what we wanted to do and how the model was going to work, go direct to customer, pay them a fair price, do all of our own processing. And they were really on board with the idea. Like they were keen to jump on board with us and supply us with the livestock. And it also, I guess, from an abattoir perspective, because everything had happened in China, a lot of export abattoirs were quiet, so it actually opened the door for us to go into some domestic plants with the volume that we were processing at the time. So again, like it was, while the export businesses were slowing down, it opened a door for us to get into some of the domestic abattoirs with the volume that we were processing as an operator. So yeah, it was a blessing in disguise.
No, that's right. And then some funding. I saw you did some crowdfunding, and I guess that would have been an exciting time. And the story behind the business and the opportunity, is quite exciting, and it's quite a remarkable achievement, raising money from anyone, let alone so much money so quickly. What was that experience like for you?
Yeah, well, we decided to do crowdfunding because our growth was so crazy, and the business hadn't been going for very long. We weren't very favorable to banks.
Hmm.
So the banks didn't really see us as a secure option to lend money to because we'd only been going for a couple of years and our business was growing, like I said, 1,000% a month. So that's very risky for a not traditional lender. So, and Dave and I started the business with the money in our pocket. Like we didn't have any funding. We were bloody broke as it was on our own
Yeah.
farm. So yeah, we needed to raise some money because we were growing so quickly, and it's very capital intensive when you run an operational business. That we own the stock, we have to process the livestock, pay the farmers, pay delivery costs, packaging, all of that sort of stuff as well. So yeah, the crowdfunding was a really good option for us to bring on people that believed in what we wanted to do, people that believed in our mission, believed in our brand, that wanted to be part of the journey with us and see us succeed. So it was a lot of farmers that became investors of ours, a lot of our customers, a lot of followers. We speak to people that we've never met before that say, I'm an investor, I
That's
invested with
crazy,
you
isn't it?
guys.
Yeah.
And we've also now got thousands of people that are our walking billboards, like they sing our praises. They tell their friends at a barbecue that they're an investor in our cow. They're never going to buy meat anywhere else because they're shareholder in our company. So it was a really amazing community building activity for us as well. Like we've got so many people that are on the journey with us, and it's not something that Dave and I take lightly. Like it's what gets us out of bed every day, and what motivates us is to get a return for our shareholders and make sure that they know the belief that they've put in us and the trust that they've put in us, we can get them a return and say thank you for believing in us and for putting their money behind us to do this.
No, that's great. It's a very mature thing to say. And we also handle investors' money, and it's a very responsible thing that you're doing to make sure the business keeps running profitably and delivers a return. And you're right, it's definitely a walking billboard. And I'm sure when they signed up for shares, they probably got some meat in a box as well as part of their subscription. You'd think.
No, we didn't actually. We
Really?
didn't
There
do
you
we
go.
didn't do investor gifts because we
There you
thought
go.
if they're giving us money, we don't want to give it back to them. We want to invest it in growth and invest it in, taking the business forward. So we didn't do any, like, you get
Like
investor.
pre-orders or yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
we,
There you
we
go.
we wanted to put the money into growth so we
Right.
could grow the business and scale quickly and again get them a return as quick as we can. We didn't want to put the money into t-shirts or drink bottles presents.
Very clever. I guess we're a non-bank funder ourselves, so we kind of understand the challenges that farmers face. I'm hoping you're a lot more attractive now. There's a lot of lenders that would probably, hopefully, are queuing up to give you some debt if you need it. Have the tides turned?
Yeah, yeah, they definitely
Have.
have. Yeah, we're
Oh, that's good.
we've got really amazing metrics in our business and a lot of funders are there waiting. So
Oh, well done. Well, that's an achievement in itself. So well done. We do understand the pains, and I guess we work with farmers when they need money outside the banks.
yeah.
Now, you know, silly question, but what's your favourite steak, and how do you like it done?
I love a rib fillet. It's medium rare on the barbecue with heaps of butter. So that's my like top shelf steak. And my
Okay.
other favorite steak is a Y-bone. They're not very common, like it's not something that you would see in a supermarket, but if you're in a butcher shop or like a place like Our Cow, it's a great product that we sell good value, tasty beef.
Very good. Um, some good tips there. I've been my kids laugh at me. I look at TikTok recipes now and know
Mm.
how to cook things. What's it like coming up against the majors now? I guess you probably have become somewhat on their radar, either as an acquisition opportunity or you know, you're chipping away at their market share slowly and surely. And I guess you're kind of moderately priced. So I guess I can see the market you're tapping into. It's kind of affordable and there's good value.
Yeah, and that's how we've positioned ourselves to be like we've always said that we're not the cheapest place to buy meat and we're not for everybody. So, there's always going to be a need for the supermarkets for cheaper cuts of meat, but what our business is based on is paying fair farmers fairly and providing good quality grass-fed products to our customers. So, it's not we're not trying to be cheap, we're trying to be good premium quality grass-fed product, but we are comparable with the likes of your supermarket grass-fed range, probably a couple of bucks here and there, and that goes with, like, I guess we don't have the scale or the buying power of the supermarket. So people always say buy from the farmers, it should be cheaper and you're cutting out the middleman, but your farmers have just as many costs as everybody else, and they don't have the scale of the supermarkets. So um yeah, we try and price ourselves in line with, I guess, the market, and yeah, make it a family friendly, affordable product that people will feel good about choosing.
I did notice that. I mean, when you go online, you don't see a $1,000 or $2,000 meat box, right?
No.
Which is definitely a market for, but it kind of can feed families. Um, Now you talk about farmers getting a fair price. So talk us through that. What are they able to achieve working with you versus offloading their animals at market price kind of day to day? And I guess at the start it would have been tricky, door knocking, saying, "Can I have an animal?" um, to now having, I guess, stability of your and predictability of your ordering, where you've got somewhat a little bit more buying power. But I guess how are the farmers winning?
Yeah, like our business is based on a subscription, which is great for us, like, and great for our customers as well. So they can plan, they know when their meat's going to turn up, but also for us to go to our suppliers and say, like, our business is growing. We know that we need this much meat every week, every month. So our farmers are able to plan and know where they're going with their livestock and with their produce. And I guess I always think of this one particular story where we met with a new farmer who was potentially, like, he was looking down the line of corporatizing their farm, their family farmers, fifth generation in the family. They were going to bring on some outside capital because they just couldn't see a future for their kids on the farm anymore without some additional capital. And they started working with us. They were supplying us for about 6 months. And he said to me, "We've never been in a better position, and I can see a future for my kids on the farm."
Yeah, wow.
So, that they're the sort of stories that I think, wow, like, we are actually making a difference in people's lives. And I go to farms that supply us, and it's hard to fathom sometimes you're in a massive big farm and every single animal on that farm will come through our cow. So you sort of don't realize the scale of the impact that you have, especially in the farming industry. I guess sitting in our office in casino or in our factory in casino, until you go out on farm and you're like, holy, like, this is a massive operation, and that everything on this place will come through our cow at some stage.
Yeah, wow. That's impressive. So the farmers are winning. There's kind of guaranteed orders at a fair price. Talk to me through the difference, particularly for the city slickers out there who turn up to a fancy steak restaurant and have to decide grass fed versus grain fed. How do we put their argument to bed? Why should they pay more or less for one another? And I guess how did you come up with the branding and positioning of being grass fed?
Yeah, well, when we first started, we were actually grain fed on our farm here. Dave and I had a grain bin in the paddock, and we'd put the grain bin out for our weaners and like fatten them that way. But as we kept growing, the demand for grass fed was stronger and stronger. Like it come from the consumer asking for, is this grass fed? Is it grass finished? And we sort of seen the strong customer demand, and that was why we switched to being 100% grass fed and grass finished. I guess like from a customer side, again, there's always going to be a need for grain feeding and feedlotting livestock in the world, in particular in Australia, because we have so many people to feed. But what we've done is just given people the option and given them the knowledge of choosing what they would prefer to feed their family. There's no one to say one's better than the other. Our business is based on educating people and giving them the option of, our products are grass fed. It is a little bit more expensive. We believe that it's better quality of life for the animals. It's more
Yeah.
natural. They're eating their natural diet. They're in paddocks, roaming, living the best life that they possibly can. And I always think that, what your food eats, you eat. So, if your food is eating a highly processed, grain heavy diet, then you're ingesting that at some stage as well. So I guess, yeah, we're more of a healthier, um, cleaner, greener, natural meat product.
Which is pretty much reflects Australian produce as it's considered globally as well, right? Clean, green, and traceable. And I did notice that your animals are traceable back to the farm or region as well. Is that right?
Yeah, yep, they are. So we have our farmer's name on all the packets of meat that go out, so you can trace it right back to my farm. That often a lot of the produce comes off my farm, so you'll see mine and Dave's name on the packet, or whoever produced that bit of beef. Yeah, it's got their name on it, which is very cool. It's not very often as a farmer you know where your food actually, your produce actually ends up. Like it leaves farm, goes to a sour yard, goes to a feedlot, gets exported, whatever, and that's sort of the end of the story. But what we've created is a community of customers and a community of farmers, and our customers can sit down and know that the piece of meat on that plate has come from Dave and Bianca's farm, and vice versa. Like our farmers take great pride in knowing that there's a family in Sydney, Brisbane, Melbourne that is enjoying what they've produced on their farm. And often some of our customers will actually directly reach out to our producers and say, like, hey, I had a piece of steak from your farm last night and it was the best steak I've ever eaten. And
Crazy.
that's not something that you get very often as a farmer.
No, that's right. I'm sure they do appreciate that. Do you think there's any difference in taste or palate, grain versus grass fed? Can you taste the difference?
I can. Like
Yeah.
I obviously only eat grass fed and I've been eating that for a long time, 6, 7 years. And often we'll go to a restaurant and grab a steak or whatever. And I think it's a chalk and cheese different. Like you can
Yeah. Right.
definitely taste the difference. And I think like the texture, the smell, especially in the fat quality. If like I said, I love a rib fillet, but I love it because the fat is so buttery and soft and it melts on the plate when you're eating it. Compared to a grain-fed rib fillet, I think the fat's quite firm, completely different like texture in your mouth and different palate. So yeah, for me, I can taste the difference, and I think that's the feedback that I hear from our customers as well, as they can noticeably taste the difference. And probably the biggest difference is in the pork and the lamb. The lamb having grass-fed, grass-finished lamb, and specifically meat sheep. Like we only produce Aussie whites through our cow, so that's all the lamb that we kill are all Aussie whites,
Hmm.
and it's a sheep breed bred for meat quality, and it is so different to what you would get in a supermarket. And same with the pork, like free range pork is so different to conventional pork, and that's what a lot of people say to us is I don't really like pork until I tried free range pork from our cow. It's very different.
Yeah. Wow. I guess you're in touch with the consumer. Keen to hear your thoughts. I guess there's demand for protein, right? At different affordability levels. Are you seeing a bit of a shift towards chicken and pork, which are arguably slightly cheaper and more affordable proteins, um, or is it? And is there a shift in demand for, I guess, beef?
Yeah, definitely. Like we're seeing a big increase in chicken demand because it is a little bit more affordable. And the with where lamb prices are at the moment, that has kind of, I wouldn't say it's tapered off, but it's remained steady because, I guess the lamb roast is quite expensive for a family of four. So yeah,
Mm.
definitely seeing a big, strong demand for chicken and very strong demand for beef still. But I like being able to have products that families can eat without it being expensive. Like our best seller is beef mince because it's an easy, affordable cut of a product that people can make go a long way. So if you're making spaghetti bowl, tacos, nachos, shepherd's pie, like it's a family friendly, affordable meal for most people.
Yeah, it tastes good, and you get the protein benefits. What about the argument when when meat prices or livestock prices increase or decrease? It takes some time for particularly in the supermarkets, for the price to amend, and so there's often a bit of a mismatch. Keen to hear your thoughts on how do you balance, I guess, the consumer price versus the commodity price for an animal.
Yeah, 100%. Well, you see, like I said before, the sale yard prices flex day to day. So
Mm.
one day it's sky high, the next day it's plummeted, depends supply, demand, export demand, weather. So you'll see a big fluctuation in the commodity prices. But if you think about it from a meat side, most meat companies have forward contract on suppliers or they've
Mhm.
pre-purchased a lot of meat. So they've got to, by the time they've bought it at the sale yards or through the feedlot or whatever, then it's been processed, then it's been packaged, then it's been shipped to a supermarket shelf. That could be weeks of time. So while the current price has dropped, they've purchased that meat 3 weeks ago. So they're trying to sell a product that they've bought at a different level to what the current supply market is. So it does take a few weeks for that price change to come through to a consumer level.
Yeah, and I think consumers don't really appreciate that. And then um, I guess there's additional costs, not just buying the animal, but in running your business as well, with labour and input costs keep rising as well. So it's difficult to amend the price that the customer pays overnight. But I mean, I love lamb chops, and they did go through the roof at one stage. They've come back a bit, but I guess what's the most expensive cut of meat at the moment? And because I mean, sheep prices have been strong for a while. And I guess, look, it does taste good, but it's a bit of a delicacy these days for the average family.
Yeah.
Yeah, where do you think sheep prices are going?
Yeah, so obviously, like your expensive cuts are things like your cutlets, lamb cutlets, eye fillet, rib fillet, those loin cuts. And for the average person that is just buying meat off the supermarket shelf or from a butcher or from someone like our cow, they don't understand that when you think of a cow, a big 400, 500 kilo animal, less than 1% of that animal is actually eye fillet. So you've got 400, 500 kilos, and you've probably what you might get 5, 10 kilos of like those
Mm.
actual sweet cuts. So that is why they're priced in the way that they are, is because they're the most highly demanded product and they're the least amount of them on an animal. And it's the same with your cutlets as well. Like you don't get many cutlets out of a sheep. So you've got to charge accordingly for those products that there is not a lot of. So that's why you see those products are more expensive. And as a producer and as a meat processor, you're dealing with natural fall. So you have got only so many amount of cutlets, how many loin chops, all that sort of stuff. But then you've got mountains of trim. So you've got all of your mince, your sausages, your roasts, your diced, all of those secondary cuts that you also have to balance as well. So that's why products are priced differently to kind of counteract the natural fall of an animal.
No, that's really well explained, and thanks for clarifying. I guess in terms of delivery around Australia, you're probably keen to understand you're getting demand from overseas for your meat, but how do you handle logistics if you get an order from certain parts of Australia? Does the system work?
Yeah, yep. So we deliver all across Australia, everywhere from Perth to Melbourne to Northern Territory down to Tasmania and all across the East Coast. So basically, you put an order in our website and it'll give you an available delivery date, and we work backwards from there. So if you've selected Saturday as your delivery date, we work backwards to know what day we need to process the meat, pack the meat, put it in a box, to have it on a truck to get to your doorstep. So it's all automated now. It used to be me and Dave in our Toyota with a generator ratchet strapped and a fridge trailer on the back, but them days are long gone. So yeah, it's all automated. We've got a great partner that we work with to have boxes delivered all across the country, and I think that's what's been I guess the difference between our business and a lot of people said that this model wouldn't work, being able to put a single box of meat on someone's doorstep. Like traditionally, meat companies and producers are working on, shipping containers across the other side of the world, and
Yeah.
that's seems like an easy feat. But putting an individual carton on someone's doorstep in Melbourne or Sydney can have its challenges.
Amazing. So that's that last mile delivery service kind of works. So you've kind of got into e-commerce right at the right time when all the everything started to align, I guess, with the demand online with the delivery availability. What about abattoir space? It's always been a tricky issue for producers. Is it hard to get a spot on the floor to get your meat cut?
I think like a lot of producers are seeing it become more difficult because of how the abattoir structure is. A lot more bigger abattoirs that aren't service providers, and then you obviously need a certain number of animals to go through to make it viable and all that kind of stuff. But there are still a number of smaller abattoirs that are great for smaller operators. For us, like I guess, we're at a size where we have the volume to be able to go and partner with some bigger places now to process our beef and our lamb. We don't really see it a problem for us, but I guess, it's about finding the right place for the size of your business as well. If you're a smaller processor, there are still a few smaller abattoirs out there that people are able to process through.
That's good. I must admit, I enjoyed your content on the socials, listening to one of your workers. I don't know if it was in a butcher shop or in an abattoir, but showing how to cut a piece of meat, and they're just having fun. I mean, I've been through abattoirs in our business, and they're not the most. You don't see many happy, smiling workers, but it just looked like they were young and vibrant, and having fun, and kind of passionate about the meat. And so,
Yeah.
it was that's quite unique.
Yeah, definitely. We've got a really great team around us, and it's something that Dave and I have strived to do from the start is build a great culture and build somewhere that people enjoy to come to work. And while we work hard and our team works incredibly hard, probably some of the hardest workers that I've ever seen. We really push them with what they do and how quickly we grow. But they have a lot of fun as well. We're certainly not over people's shoulders, micromanaging people. We give our team a lot of trust and autonomy to do their jobs, and we celebrate the wins together as well.
No, that's great. I mean, building a culture in an entrepreneurial startup is quite unique and often quite attractive for people to want to join that kind of vision that you're building. Keen to hear your thoughts. The Trump beef ban has come to looks like a bit of a pause or a halt for now. Are you seeing any demand? Well, firstly, of export of your product, and two, how do you think that'll affect, I guess, Aussie livestock producers?
Yeah, I mean, it is good to see that the ban has sort of come to an end or been lifted. I'm not like super up with what's going on there. I guess it doesn't affect us too much because we're only a domestic business. Like we're not exporting, we don't have any trade overseas. But from what I can understand, a lot of the beef gets exported in Australia and a lot of it goes to the US because again, like we produce so much food here more than we can consume ourselves, and people overseas love the Australian produce. Like it's clean, it's green, it's good quality. It's something that the US doesn't have. Like a lot of their beef is corn fed and heavily grain fed, so we're able to provide them with something a little bit unique. And I don't think like the US imports in Australia is something that's going to affect us. Like I said, we produce enough food to feed ourselves more than what we need. So I don't think that we'll see US beef on our supermarket shelves anytime soon.
No.
But we need that export market for our agricultural industry to thrive. It's our biggest industry here in Australia. So it is important to keep those trade partnerships working and open for the benefit of the industry.
No, well said. Now you're the ultimate paddock to plate producer. Would you, if you had your time again, would you just start in e-commerce, or would you? And I guess which part of your business do you enjoy? Living on farm, running a livestock operation, or the e-commerce side, or the whole shebang, really?
Yeah, if I had my time again, I would not change a single thing. Like it has
Right.
been, uh, I don't think I would know what I know about the industry if we hadn't have done what we've done. Like if we hadn't have started off processing, killing our own having our own butcher shops, like we've really got a very deep understanding now of the meat industry, which is very unique. Like a lot of other, I see other e-commerce businesses that are just selling meat online, but they're not farmers, they're not meat companies, they don't understand like the deep, intricate details of what it takes to actually get a steer from someone's farm to a dinner plate in Melbourne. So whereas Dave and I, like we are the farmers, we understand all the challenges that goes to producing food. We're not just a couple of city slickers trying to make a quick buck selling meat online. Like we've got that deep understanding of how this process actually works. So while it has been challenging and there's been a lot of sleepless nights and stress and tears and everything along the way, I honestly wouldn't change anything.
Yeah, wow. No, that's very inspiring. So if I gave you an open checkbook and said you can invest in any farm in Australia, where would you what venture would you go into, and in what region would you stay where you are, or would you, is it more exciting somewhere else in Australia in another agricultural region? Open checkbook.
Well, I mean, I'd probably buy a bit more country around me to start with because I
Okay.
love where we live, and it would just be nice to have a bit more. But I really like for us, we love the Northern Tablelands, New South Wales, like that up there and that New England is something special. Like it's just the best grass growing, beef growing place in Australia, in my opinion. So anything up there, it's very expensive, but it's very amazing.
It is a premium agricultural region. I assume you'll be at Beef Week coming up in Rocky again. I was at the last one. Any plans on hosting a stall or doing some marketing there?
I don't know. It's just good to go. I think if you have a stall or a site, you're sort of locked in to staying there for the whole week. Whereas last couple of times we've been able to just walk around and visit everybody and see everybody, and you're kind of like a walking around and
Walking
enjoying the
around.
show. So
Yeah, absolutely. It is a lot of fun. I was at the last one. I'm sure you'll be invited as a guest speaker from somebody.
that'd be
See,
nice.
I'm sure you will. So you got to hold off the beers till later in the day.
Yeah.
Um, Now, tell us about the vision for your company. You probably didn't imagine where it would be today from when you moved from Port Macquarie off farm to a farm. Where can you see this business heading in the next 5-10 years? Do you want to head into retail, keep growing e-commerce? What kind of size and scale?
Yeah, opportunities are endless for us. Like we're in a really strong growth phase at the moment, so we're growing quite significantly. We have a lot of farmers that approach us every day about how they can be involved and how they can supply us. So for us, it's about the more customers that we have, the more farmers we can bring on, and the more people that we can work with. So for the next few years, it's just head down, bum up, scale as hard and as profitably as we possibly can, get our investors a good return on their money, and yeah, nothing is off the cards. You might see our cow in the US one day, you might see us in a retail. Who knows?
Who knows? Oh, then there's lots of opportunity. Bianca, thanks very much for joining us today. You've got an inspiring story, entrepreneurial success. I can see the passion from city to farm, genuine paddock to plate. Let's stay in touch, and I'll promote to our listeners to get on board Our Cow. Sign up for a subscription, give it a go. You might see some orders coming through for myself, and good luck in your journey ahead.
Thank you very much for having me. It was great to chat.
Thanks, Bianca.